be honest though, the one thing that kind of did scare me about Obama, and Jon Stewart actually pointed this out on the Daily Show, was when he was making his, after he was just inaugurated, he was talking to the American public. His speech to it was basically the same rhetoric that Bush gave, just spoken more eloquently, like, oh, we're going to get all the bad guys, we're going to put some hope back into this country. It was the same rhetoric that Bush gave when he first got in office, and that scared the crap out of me.
Isn't that the same for all presidents? They all say the same stuff. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to have tax cuts, and we're going to have better health care.
Relatively, but it had a sort of rhythm to it, that it was the same kind of rhythm that Bush had during his inaugural address.
I mean, the thing is too, that can be written off as nearly anything. That can be, and there are certainly unfortunate similarities between Obama and Bush. They're not. It's not like they're opposed on every single issue. It pretty much every president is, like you said, going to use hit those same talking points on their speeches. I mean, you can't really trust any politician. I'm not an anarchist. Well, maybe, I don't know. I don't feel like an anarchist right this very moment, but yes, I am. Well, anyway. But the point is, they're all going to be untrustworthy because their job is to be put in that position of power. Their job isn't necessarily, what doesn't matter is, it doesn't really matter how good a job they do as long as they can continue to get that job over and over again. Like, it's a job that's inherently based around altering your perception more than it is based on actually doing anything. So it's sort of built into our system that you cannot trust the president,
right?
Which is a shame.
So he also talked about the schools and about how the abortion, the abortion, teen pregnancy. He didn't necessarily talk about it, but he also talked about mostly the dropout rate of schools. I'm trying to figure out what you got to think about. They always go back to teen pregnancy and abortion all the time. I'm trying to figure out what do you got to think about that, because for me, in my view of it, if for me, I don't think it's right for y'all to just be having sex and like, oh, I got pregnant and I'm going to have an abortion. That irritates the heck out of me. And I don't know if any of you women have had any experiences or know anybody like that, or what is y'all view on that? Because it just irritates me for people to be going around spreading their legs to the world, having a community baby, and then they want to say, oh, I'm gonna have an abortion. I'm like, that irritates me. That is so nasty.
You already joined through this one, Emily. I have a good opinion on this too, but
okay.
I feel as a man. Okay. No, I was about to say, in my kind of personal opinion with abortion too, that is true, but that really doesn't happen most of the time. Most of the time, it's women who have been abused sexually and cannot support a child, and they simply don't want to bring a child into a world where they can't provide for it, they can't help it, and it's going to be unloved.
Now, I understand that part, but I'm talking about the other ones where you have these girls in school that's having sex with everybody, slutting around and stuff, and I'm like, they're just sitting there getting pregnant and keep having abortion. That irritates me. I understand what you're talking about. There's two different type of women.
It seems like you're placing a lot of the emphasis on the women, because it's like, someone's got to be putting their dick in that too. Like, you can't blame this all on the girls.
This is a two-person process.
But the women, they don't,
But the men are equally to blame, man.
Yeah, they're equally to blame, but the women, for some reason, they're always the decision makers, and there'll be a lot of men that be like, you didn't talk to me.
Are you talking about as far as the abortion goes?
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, the kid's brewing in their belly,
You shouldn't have been having sex in the first place.
Well, neither should the guy.
Either one of y'all. So
I guess what I'm saying, it's not.
I think they should be stuck with the consequence.
I don't think but the thing is, then the guy doesn't get any of those consequences.
I don't think that
the guy can skip out on those consequences a lot more painlessly than the woman can.
Technically, the consequences could hurt you in a way too, because that means another human being that you also have to provide for through your taxes. I mean, the population is large enough, and we don't need to increase it. As I know, kind of bad as that kind of sounds, it is very true.
Yeah. Our population is, if you look at the statistics, is really stable. really stable compared to something like China.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, regardless though, I mean, an abortion I think would count as a pretty severe consequence in and of itself. It's not like they just stick some cotton candy in your vagina or something. Like, it's an unpleasant process. No one's like, man, I really could go for an abortion right now.
Yeah.
You're like, oh farts, there's a thing in my belly.
I really don't think these women either are, or at least I don't think they're as, it's a really minimal number, these women who are just like, oh, I get an abortion. It's a really hard process to go through. Like,
That's what I was going to say this entire time. Like, I've never known someone who has been nonchalant about abortion. It is a huge life-changing decision.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, men are to blame too. You can't be like, oh, there are two types of women, whores and not whores. That's horrible, and that dichotomy has existed for hundreds and hundreds of years. And what you have to realize is that actually teen pregnancy has gone down, like, dramatically since the 80s. And teens are actually being more responsible about it. However, I do think that they should continue to be more responsible and contraception should be more widespread.
I'm feeling what you're saying.
The problem is too, like, I'm sure with these girls who are getting pregnant, like, I'm sure they're also Catholic, which prohibits contraception. So that's also part of the problem too. I'm not dissing on Catholicism. But another kind of point too is I was reading this book called Freakonomics for a class.
Great book. I read that too.
Great book. Yeah, there was a section in the book that talked about why crime went down in this one city, and analyzes it because is there less drugs? Why is there less drugs? And then it came right down to like, oh, people have been getting abortions, and so that's affecting the generations to come. Like,
but
and
what about
there's
that
less
baby's
crime.
life though? What about that child's life? You sitting here getting pregnant.
Oh.
You know that you're killing somebody.
Well, but
That
I mean,
depends on when you think conception is.
I'm not saying, and
Like
again, we talked about
parents.
this before, it's not an easy choice, but if let's say that my sister got pregnant and I had to choose between her life and her baby, I would choose my sister because she can make another baby, but I can't get another sister.
So that's different. I'm just talking about people just going out and having sex with everybody.
Well, I totally appreciate that, like, guys have a strong opinion on abortion and stuff, but I mean, personally, I've never been pregnant, and we're not gonna talk about, like, people I know that have had to go through this, but, like, there's a certain sort of connection that a mother has with a kid that is grown in her own body, like, that, I don't know if guys can understand that or not, but it's not like you can just go out and have abortions, like, it doesn't work like that. Like, once you've lost a baby, you felt like you've lost something. It's not like it's just.
I think the number that you were talking about too is just like way too small, and people just been blowing it out of proportion. Like, oh, there's all these women who are just like getting abortions, just like cannonballing their babies out, just like.
We're gonna go on commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Real Deal. We are back. We're gonna be talking about video games today. I'm really excited about it. It's one of my favorite things to play. It's one of my favorite. It's also the big new entertainment. It's actually beating movies and music. And it's really shocking people because now a lot of people are trying to get into the gaming industry. And you see a lot of stars like Vin Diesel. He's making a video game which is probably gonna suck. But he made a video game. And, you know, and you have Grand Theft Auto. You have a lot of big games that's really bringing more people into the market. So what do you think is the big winners of this?
Well, it's hands down, and and it's also kind of unfortunate to say this, but Nintendo, I guess, is doing the best with their Wii console right now. I'm actually really angry at the Wii and all the games that have come out for it, because the only ones that I've really enjoyed are Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and then another one called No More Heroes, and then of course everyone loves Wii Sports. It's really the only game that people will play on the Wii. It just looks pretty and it just kind of collects dust.
Also, part of another game was Mario Kart. Playing online, those Japanese people are hard to play. They are some hard people to play, but it's really fun. I thought Mario Kart was pretty good, and I also thought the Legend of Zelda.
I forgot about that. That was great too. That
it just was dragged
really
on.
utilized. Yeah.
I'm just really disappointed. I'm not. The Wii was probably one of the best systems I played, but I'm the most disappointed in that system.
Yeah.
The other two systems, you had PlayStation here, which is too damn expensive, and then you had the president of Sony saying, "I want this system to be so expensive that you're going to have to work 2 jobs for it." I was like, "Are you kidding me?"